Welcome back to HPL. We're at the PvP Live Studios in Frisco, Texas. I'm with Nathan, that's Admirable Zamora, and I am Tanning Grace, and we just saw Zalay take a 3-1 win here over ECOP.
Yeah, really putting up some good stuff here. Continues to just play what he believes are the best strategies. He mentioned in this interview that he thinks that people should just be playing to their strengths. That's obviously a pretty big one for him, given the fact that that's what he's been winning with over and over again, and sort of what he's done in his career to put up the win record he has. So, you know, always a pleasure to watch him play it. Very mindful, thoughtful, logical player that takes his time and makes sure he thinks through everything.
Yeah, it definitely takes his time on every single play, and you see him often come out with the right play, even if it's not the obvious one. You see it a lot through his games, really taking his time. He's really a, like I like to say, an integral, very thoughtful player, really surgical the way that he plays the games. I love watching him play.
Yeah, even threw a freeze mage in there against
Didn't expect that one.
Yeah, we haven't seen him play. I don't think I've ever seen him play freeze mage ever. And to see him play against ECOP, you know, he ran it into Warrior, unfortunately, one of the toughest matchups for that deck. That was the one game ECOP was able to win in that series.
Yeah, I feel like ECOP had a decent chance to win almost every one of those games, except for the last one. His hand really never panned out.
Yeah, it was so close. It was actually one damage off lethal twice in that one. If we take a look at the standings, see where both of these guys sit right now. It was such a must-win match for both of these players. Zalay needed to stay on the road and a winning record. And ECOP, he had to turn things around right here. He finds himself at 1-5 now after 6 matches.
I feel that every match from here on out for ECOP is a must-win now. He cannot really afford to take any more losses. He may have 1 or 2 more to give before the season is actually over and still making that top 8, but every single match from here on out has to feel like a must-win to him.
Yeah, and that's the last spot you want to be in with that many matches left, is being in a spot where you feel like you have to win every single one. You know, with the pressure continuing to build on him, how is ECOP going to handle that? You know, typically a kind of an emotional player, going to have to keep that in check. But our second match of the day, you know, kind of talking about must-win scenarios, the closer and closer you get to that midway point and people start clinching top 8 spots, Muzzy versus Kranich is right up there with it. Kranich sits at 3-3, and Muzzy, he's at 2-5 now, is it?
Yeah, 2-4, I believe.
2-4 for Muzzy. So both of these guys, again, just in a must-win scenario if they want to start getting themselves that top 8 spot.
Yeah, no, Muzzy is actually 2-5 now. I think about it. Yeah, and this is a must-win for both of them, and I feel that way. Now, when we really talk about this match, what I really want to focus on here between Muzzy and Kranich is damage to enemy hero, how much damage they're doing per game, because it's pretty interesting when you look at these two. Now, we're going to start off with Muzzy. He is coming in at 2-5, but like we said, he's kind of been all over the place in his deck choices, and he really, really needs a win here today. But he's currently ranked second to last in HPL in DEH. You see him averaging 18.3 damage a game here. Now, he's winning when he does do damage. He's winning 70% of his games when he does at least 22 damage. So whenever he's getting in some beats in on his opponent, he's actually finishing the game off. But he hasn't been getting to that number enough. He's been very disrupted by his opponents too well up to this point. He also only has 4 games in which he's been able to deal the full 30 to his opponent. So he needs to find more consistency in his game and way more consistent damage sources going forward.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Muzzy, he's approaching that halfway point here in HPL. He'll have 8 matches after this one. And once again, I can't emphasize it enough. He's got to turn this season around, and he's got to turn it around right now. There's a ton of pressure on him to perform today. And frankly, that has to be weighing on his mind. At least I think so. And just like you mentioned, he's been all over the place with his strategies. You know, what's working for him fantastically is those mid-range approaches that we have. You know, pretty much all of his wins have come on Druid and on Warlock. And Muzzy also got news recently that he won't even be able to attend an event in China that he qualified for, where he would represent NA. And, you know, I talked to him a little bit about that today before this match. You know, he acknowledged he was obviously disappointed about that, but he said you just got to move on. You know, he's going to find more opportunities. Muzzy's a young guy. He's putting in the effort it takes to be a professional player. And to hear that his work ethic is going to be unfazed in the face of these factors that are outside of his control, I mean, that's really something. It gives me the idea that it's not affecting his emotions. But you combine all that stuff with the fact that his record is in dire straits. You know, his brother-in-arms Jab, he's at 6-3, and Muzzy, you know, he's so far away from clinching that top 8 spot. It's gonna be tough for him. You know, he's not gonna get that money for nothing.
Wow, those dire straits references. But yeah, I mean, you got to feel for Muzzy. You feel that you hear that he can't go to this tournament where he wanted to, and you got to love the attitude that he has. You know, you just got to move on. Now, his opponent this round is Kranich. I want to talk a little bit about him. Now, he's coming in at 3-3, and he just came off an epic match with Show. That was an unbelievable one here. Now you're going to take a look at his stats. Now, when you look at his DEH, he's dealing 23 points of damage a game here. Now, at times, he's been all over the place, and it seems like we have a tale of 2 different Kraniches here in HPL. He has, in his first 2 matches, which were 2 losses, he was only dealing 18.5 damage per game. But since then, he's 3-1, and he's dealing over 25 damage a game now. Now, this is a really big point for Kranich. He's winning over 73% of his games where he's getting at least 21 damage in. So we're seeing a more focused and, frankly, a more deadly Kranich here lately. He's becoming a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah, I mean, when Kranich entered HPL, I mean, this guy was a wild card. He was playing Shaman. He had Nat Pagel in his decks, played very unique strategies. And it looked like Kranich, frankly, was behind the curve in terms of the metagame. But after that 0-2 start, he picked up 3 straight, and it was looking like he was kind of in pure form. Finding the right elements it takes to beat players within kind of the singular card choices he's making that are uniques, not necessarily his overall strategy approach. And I love that he's been finding that element of his game and really executing it well. But Kranich is coming off of that heartbreaking loss to Sho, losing a brawl to a Mal'Ganis, a 25% chance it was in that game. If Sho loses that brawl, the game is completely over. But Kranich, I think he really had the better of Sho in that match when you kind of take a look at the way he queued up and the way that he was playing it. But sometimes the factors are just out of your control. And sort of given that his last match set his record at 3-3, there's a lot of pressure on Kranich, just like Zalay last match, to put a win on the board here and stay on that winning track. If Kranich finds the right times to throw a twist in and he keeps himself cool, he's one of the more dangerous opponents, I would say, when you take a look at the way his matches have been going. But there's always going to be that thought in your head playing against Kranich. What is he going to do? When your opponents have to adapt to you, I think that's truly where you have an edge, and that's part of what makes Kranich such a special player.
Yeah, he's a special player, and he's just a kind of Jekyll and Hyde. You never know what you're going to get in between every match from him. Now, when we look at both of them and start to compare them against each other, this is a matchup of 2 players who are each having a little bit of an identity crisis. Muzzy, he's been all over the place with his deck choices, and you can see it affecting his play and his damage output. But what I want to talk about is his specific class queue-ups here, because this is really shocking to me. He's 8-2 when he plays Druid and Warlock. I'm going to let that sit in. 8-2. So he's 4-1 with both of them. When he plays anything else, he's 1-14. Like 1-14 with literal any other class. So you found something that worked. Go with it. In those, he queued up Druid 4 times in a row and Warlock 4 times in a row, and he got those wins. Just do that. You've been winning that way. Stop doing these things that are getting you to be 1-14. Now, Kranich, he's really buckled down and focused his deck choices a lot more lately. I love seeing this from him, and he's been doing much better. But he lost his last match versus Sho in 5 games. He played a Mech Rogue deck in one of those games, leading to a pretty easy win from his opponent. Will he continue to do that at least once a match and give them a free win? Should we still be ready to see something crazy out of Kranich in every single match? Because it's been costing him a game, and he's been losing a lot of 5-game sets, giving one away.
Yeah, I think kind of despite the fact that he's, occasionally been playing a strategy that really isn't up to par, with these two, Kranich has been the one who's been more successful at mixing up their strategies. I mean, just once again, Muzzy, he's been all over the place with it. I mean, you said that it was 1-14 with non-Druid, non-Warlock classes. That's been a big talking point for him, is Druid and Warlock. Kranich, though, he's been having some major success with Druid so far and making a little bit of a splash with Mage. With either of these guys, being difficult to figure out exactly, this looks like a perfect time for both of them to start getting aggressive. But what if the other one knows that? If the other person knows that you're supposed to get aggressive and they know that they're supposed to get aggressive, how do they adjust with that? With players' backs against the walls, and I have to say that both these players are kind of in that position right now, we've seen them consistently go with comfort picks. And both of them needing a win here, I'd expect that same kind of trend to continue.
Yeah, both of them need a win, and what I think is going to be really important for Kranich to win, number one, I think he needs to know thyself. You are very creative. Embrace that. But don't go off the deep end. You've been playing great decks lately, even some of your own personality woven in with those great decks. That's fine. Stay away from the decks that are way out in left field. Now, number two, I think he needs to punish Muzzy for being indecisive. Muzzy has had trouble sticking to a plan during matches, often playing 4 different decks or classes throughout an entire match. Just play powerful strategies. Punish him for this. If he's going to keep doing this and making these crazy choices, get your easy wins from him.
Yeah, you know what? I actually think that's actually one of the most important points for Muzzy, is to prevent himself from getting punished in these sorts of things. So for me, what I think Muzzy's got to do this match is he's got to hone his strategies. Once again, 4 classes in a match. We've seen him play, I think it's 8 different classes at this point, 7 or 8 different classes. I don't even know. But the point is he's been all over the place, and that's not working for him. You've been winning with Druid, you've been winning with Warlock. I've said it about a lot of other players so far. If that's what you're going to win with, just play that and win with it. And the second one on that point is make your opponent adjust to you. If you play Warlock and Druid every single match, your opponents are going to have to figure out which one you're queuing up and win. They're wildly different strategies, and if your opponent picks the wrong choice when you're playing either one of them, you find yourself at the advantage. That's where you need to get your edge in this match, and I think that's exactly what Muzzy has to do if he's going to win.
Now, we talked about what they need to do to win, but who do I have actually winning this match, Nathan? I've got to go with Kranich. He's been playing great lately, and honestly, you know what? We always kind of give him a little bit of a little fleck for like playing, some weird decks, some weird card choices, but honestly, when it comes to playing the game of Hearthstone, he is one of the best around. He's an amazing player. Nothing against Muzzy's skill here, but Kranich has really impressed me lately, and I look for that to keep going.
Yeah, I'm going to have to go with Kranich in this match as well, and the big point for me is that I don't think that Muzzy's going to hone and focus his strategies. I think it's what he has to do to win, but I think he's going to continue to, I think personally, I think he's going to continue to have the pressure get to him a little bit, queue up different strategies when he's losing games. He seems to be refusing to play the same strategy twice in a row when he's actually dropping a game, and I expect that sort of trend to continue as well.
That's a really good point that we don't bring up a lot. The pressure behind you when you have a losing record. Players like Muzzy, he's 2-5 coming in. If you lose game 1, it's almost like panic mode. There's so much pressure on you to turn everything around and turn it around now. And you can't win 3 matches by winning 1 game. So they feel so much pressure and they have the whole weight of the world on their shoulders there that sometimes it's hard to really, fault them for making all these, what we consider crazy choices.
Yeah, it's a big factor to account for. That mental aspect affects every facet of your game. But how do you guys handle the pressure? Maybe when you're on a losing streak, what do you do to kind of de-tilt from that and put yourself back on a winning track? You can get out there on Twitter and use that hashtag HPL. Let us know your methods for keeping your cool and staying under control. And you can also get on Facebook and like and comment on the page and let us know what you think over there as well. But now that all that's out of the way, kind of get into the X factors of this one. Again, Kranich just been playing so wonderfully, but he's coming off that heartbreaking loss.
Yeah, I think if anyone is going to be not affected by that, the person who's going to react the best to losing that match to show, it's Kranich. You saw him actually have a little bit of emotional response to it. We normally never see that out of him. He's usually just smiling and laughing, but he'll recover from it greatly, I bet.
We're going to find out because game number 1 with Muzzy and Kranich is getting underway.
Man, I hope this is as good as Kranich's last match.
Muzzy looking like he's going back way to his roots here. With Mirror Entity and Piloted Shredder in here, it looks like a Mech Mage deck to me. This is one of the decks that actually piloted him into success.
Yeah, he actually won, what tournament was it he won? It was
Pinnacle 4.
Pinnacle 4, yeah. The tournament that he actually qualified for, he wasn't invited. He had to win his way in and then won the whole thing.
Yeah, well, it's going to end up being Tempo Mage instead. It's a Mana Worm and a Sorcerer Apprentice. But this deck kind of plays in that same vein. Get on the board early, find some strong tempo plays, keep your opponent on the back foot, and then punish him for it.
Yeah, it feels like the new Mech Mage.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you.
Tempo Mage is the new Mech Mage.
Yeah, it seems to be exactly where it fits. Blue is the new blue.
Okay, so here's the thing. I love seeing this from Kranich. Love this deck. One of my favorite decks of all time in Hearthstone, the Oil Rogue deck. I'm just waiting for the Nad Pagel or something. I'm waiting for the card that he's going to draw in this game, and I'm just going to be like, what?
Does Muzzy think this is Mech Mage? Or I'm sorry, Mech Rogue.
That's another thing too. Like
Kranich literally played Mech Rogue last
week. When we couldn't see his hand and they had queued up Rogue, there was the thought in the back of my mind like, no, not again, not like this, not like this, Kranich. But
well, this is an excellent start for Muzzy. No backstabbing Kranich's hand, no early action to this. It looks to me like if he wants to get some board pressure going, he's going to have to stifle what Muzzy's doing first. And honestly, a card like Sorcerer's Apprentice, not the one you want to leave around.
Yeah, this is a turn that it really defines who you are as a rogue player, because a lot of people just dagger up and pass here. Well, I believe you need to sap or eviscerate. You need to use removal on these early minions. You can't let Muzzy really snowball you out of control here.
Yeah, Muzzy's got an excellent turn here. Going to reload for
He's
some
got a great
options.
curve going forward.
Yeah.
Oh, Sylvanas is in this deck.
Yeah, but now his 4-drop slot is going to be completely empty. So we're going to see if he can fight back from what Kranich maybe can throw at him.
Here's the thing. In these matchups, Kranich might just Earthen Ring Farseer here, but he's going to see him do a Violet Teacher instead. Frostbolting them to get a lot of extra damage in isn't always bad because it takes away a lot of their plays in the next turn because they're so reliant on their dagger. Oh, that was a very good draw.
Yeah, Unstable Portal could really start to turn things around here. I have to think this is going to be step 1.
Yeah, it's very possible he leads to Unstable Portals to see what he gets, and then he's going to follow up with something like Mirror Entity, just to try to protect his Mana Worm. Because if he gets in a lot of extra damage with his Mana Worm, that's how he's going to be winning from here.
So it's going to be Mad Bomber. If that hits the Violet Teacher twice, he could kill it with a Frostbolt afterwards.
Well, it looks like he's actually just going to run his Mana Worm into it first here to make sure that there's less options for it to miss.
Yeah, I really
First
like.
one was good, and the last 2 were bad, but he gets to use his hero power.
I actually really like this play too. Really
I do as well.
Hedging his bets against what's going on.
Well,
the last thing you want to happen is like 3 damage go to your Mana Worm and just lose the game.
You can't let this Violet Teacher sit because the way your hand is constructed, this game is going to go long. And Violet Teacher is very, very good at winning the long game out of the rogue deck. Plus, you have Sylvanas Windrunner in your hand. You cannot let something like 4 tokens hit the board and just completely negate your card.
Yeah, see Kranich kind of, really, really thinking hard about what he should do this turn. And backstab, good draw to deal with the 3-2, but now every single turn is going to get scarier and scarier for him.
Yeah, Flame Waker picked up from Muzzy, maybe able to push in a lot of extra damage here. Mirrodin, actually not a bad card here against the Rogue deck, by the way.
Yeah, it does kind of offset the threats. You know, Rogue doesn't play sticky threats most of the time. Wants to just get one on the board at a time. And Muzzy, he realizes what a danger this Azure Drake can be. Just going to oil and take it out.
Yeah, Kranich oiling up here. Just absolutely love this play. He's being very aggressive with how he's playing this game, but that's what he needs to do. He can't let this early pressure. He realizes this is a tempo mage. If you let them sit around, it's almost like the Rogue deck in that vein. If you let them sit around with any of their minions, things get out of control very quickly.
Yeah, and Muzzy, Kranich is the one who's oiling up there. Muzzy just going to play Sylvanas here, and then you know, Kranich, he's going to look to try to take advantage of the fact that this tempo is going to be on his side. Kind of has the plays to do it too. He can prep, sprint, and then sap afterwards.
Yeah, he can prep, sprint, sap. That seems like one of the cleanest, easiest turns for me. But again, Kranich's going to consider all of his options and see if there's something else that he wants to do. But I think you got to start with prep, sprint here. Sorry, prep, sprint. It was really hard for me to say that there for a second, and then really weigh your options after that.
Yeah, both have
that is double Violet Teacher.
Yeah, you know. The fact
there's a chance if he doesn't want to use sap here, like if he's really worried about something, he has to say you might see him backstab and use his dagger.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Eviscerate though. You know, the last thing I think he wants to be doing is taking 5 damage. Would like to have this 4-1 sit around and threaten Blade Flurry, and that's going to be weighing on Muzzy's mind at every single step of the way. You know, the fact that your opponent could have taken 5 damage to get that done, and instead wanted to use a card. Dr. Boom going to be added pressure here, and I tell you what, this is the last minion that Kranich wants to sap right now, and he just used backstab and eviscerate, and he drew the Blood Mage too. He would have had Blood Mage, backstab, and eviscerate on this if he would have sapped that Sylvanas, maybe second guessing himself.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what he does going forward here. I believe he's just going to start to make board tension, do something like Earthen Ring Farseer or Piloted Shredder, or maybe in Violet Teacher into some spells and try to make a ton of board pressure, try to negate these boom bots from doing anything kind of crazy. But going forward from here, this is the turn where Kranich is going to have to start trying to turn the game because he's going to be behind from here on out.
Yeah, I mean, that might involve Violet Teacher too. I mean, if he just plays Violet Teacher and then saps the Dr. Boom, Muzzy is going to have to hope the boom bots actually get the work done if he wants to take care of Violet Teacher. He will be able to play Dr. Boom again after that, but if he doesn't take out the Violet Teacher, that gives Kranich the window of opportunity.
Yeah, he's going to need these boom bots to really be on point here.
I am ready to learn.
This is going to be a major turn here where Fate is going to have a hand in what's going on.
And well, he has a Frost Bolt and he has a hero power if he really was taking it.
And he's got a Fireball.
Yeah, he does pick up Fireball too, but you generally don't want to be using Fireball in that manner if you can avoid it this way because it's just such a good reach card. You can get them down to something like 6 or 7. They think they might be okay, and you can just pick them off with that. But
this feels like a spot where I think you want to roll the boom bots because if your opponent had to deal with Dr. Boom this inefficiently, there's a chance they just don't have a way to deal with Dr. Boom.
Yeah, there's a very good chance he might just play something like Dr. Boom Mirrodin this turn, but...
Yeah, he's going to go with Flame Waker Fireball instead, it looks like. Oh, going to be Frostbolt. Frostbolt, I think, is a little bit safer than Fireball. You know, he does have the hero power afterwards, can also mirror image with this. And Flame Waker doing such work here to take out everything. He even wants to keep his boom bots around.
He might miss here.
Yeah, it does miss, but he has the boom bots to take care of it, so not the worst case scenario in the world for him. Boom bot hits for 2. A little bit okay, I think, for Kranich. But, you know, like once again, this board is kind of building under this much pressure, and he's got to get something done. He knows that Muzzy has a Dr. Boom in his hand, and he's facing down what appears to be a mirror entity.
Ooh, Blade Flurry picked up from Kranich. Not bad.
Would help him deal with this Dr. Boom in the future, but, you know, has to take care of this board pressure first. And if he thinks this is mirror entity, I have to think he's looking for that big Blade Flurry turn. But then, once again, that's going to leave the opportunity for Muzzy to play Dr. Boom.
Yeah, I mean, I think at the point, though, you're just going to have to try to figure out what to do going forward from here. I mean, there's only so many things Kranich can do every turn. And, yeah, he's just going to actually attack this Flame Waker.
Yeah, I don't mind attacking
this play
here
at all,
either. Yeah, because he's going to have the oil with the Blood Mage Thanos and Blade Flurry next turn. So, you know, some pretty good stuff from him in that regard as well. That if Muzzy,
so he can even Earthen Ring Farseer this turn as well.
Yeah, if Muzzy chooses to not take care of both of these 3/3s, or can't take care of both of these 3/3s rather, Dr. Boom and the entire board is going to be checked by that. So I actually love that Kranich is taking this line of play, but Muzzy continues to pick up more damage as the game pans out. Is running at short of minions at this point, but Dr. Boom, man, it's just always so much. You can get tons of work done. 4 damage off this Boombot as well. I have to believe this is going to be Dr. Boom and Mad Scientist.
Yeah, I would fully believe he's going to Dr. Boom and Mad Scientist here. You know something like Blade Flurry is a possibility, but it's really hard for them to do 7.
How do you beat 2 Dr. Booms in one game?
We're about to find out if Kranich can. Maybe Kranich can show us.
Yeah, he's running a little bit low on resources here. Actually doesn't have a dagger either to combine with this, so we'll have to dagger up and then use that Tinker Sharp Sword of Oil and actually has to hope that his Earthen Ring Farseer lives in this spot as well. You know, if the Boombots pick off this Earthen Ring Farseer, the Dr. Boom goes unchecked.
And Fan of Knives, not amazing in this spot, but it will take care of a lot of minions, put some damage here on this Dr. Boom. So, like, maybe he can get out of this with what's going to go on the next turn. Ooh, he does pick up an SI agent as well.
This is a big Boombot. Doesn't take out the Earthen Ring Farseer.
Oh, wow, this allows him to take care of this Dr. Boom.
That's a major swing in the game for Kranich. I mean, now that Muzzy is kind of running low on cards and doesn't have any big minions to add behind this is looking like advantage to Kranich right now.
Yeah, advantage Kranich. Imagine what this Arcane Intellect is here.
So Mad Scientist Loatheb gets picked up as well. But once again, you know, Kranich, not under all the pressure in the world, does have ways to kind of handle what's going on and can reload behind this with Azure Drake and Piloted Shredder. Even 2 Azure Drakes if he wants. This is a really big turn from Kranich. I have to think this is going to be a second Azure Drake. It's going to be Piloted Shredder instead. Very concerned with getting sticky minions on the board. And this kind of, you know, this will open up him to a few things that Muzzy can do, but Muzzy's got to figure out a way to start fighting this board pressure. So much
6,
damage
12, 15,
in hand.
20. Yeah, he's got 20 right now with an Arcane Missiles and his hero power left over. I mean, you have to believe Muzzy is probably going to do something like push for damage here now since he picked up the Frostbolt.
A lot of options.
Because here's the thing you can do. If you attack, you could actually just Frostbolt Kranich this turn to make sure that no huge Blade Fury shenanigans happen.
Yeah, I actually like the Frostbolt here first, too. You know, 2 of these targets are fantastic now for Arcane Missiles. And he's got 3 shots at it.
Obviously, it misses
all
both
of them. Yeah. Whoa, that's bad news.
Yeah, Arcane Missiles is the best card ever.
This is how concerned he is with Azure Drake, too. Azure Drake's such a scary minion to leave on board. The spell damage can always be utilized by Rogue. Well, I say always. It can almost always be utilized by Rogue to some effect. And the last thing you want to be doing is leaving them in a position where they can fully utilize that. But, you know, at the point where Kranich is getting so low, does he feel like maybe pressure's just going to be enough?
Yeah, that's why you might see him actually kill the SI agent here and leave the Azure Drake sitting around, because it is frozen for the next turn, so he can't actually attack with it, and hopefully he won't be able to get, you know, blown out too much by the spell power buff here.
Yeah, Kranich has just the right cards to start taking care of this, though.
Yeah, he's got to be, you know, there is a mirror on the other side of the board, so he has to kind of plan his turn with that in mind.
Yeah, this is actually perfect from him. Going to be able to dagger up Deadly Poison, get in 3 points of damage from the swing, and then 5 points of damage from the Blade Flurry afterwards. Muzzy is going to need some help on the damage side of things because he is staring down a ton of pressure suddenly.
The last Frostbolt in deck is lethal from here, by the way.
That would be amazing to draw right now. No secrets left in the deck either. Muzzy's got to get something. Unstable Portal.
I saw the 2 casting blue card there. I thought for a second it was the Frostbolt.
Neptulon gets added to hand.
Wow.
You know, that will overload him for 3, though. He won't have access to both Fireballs afterwards.
Yeah, but I mean, do you just need the 7/7 and the other, you know, minions going to add to your hand here?
I think he does need the 7/7.
Wow, he even picks up a couple 1-drops here as well, including one of the ones that has charge next turn.
Wow, this is looking actually not that bad for Muzzy anymore. Both these Murloc Raiders are going to get swept up in this Fan of Knives, but, you know, he's got to do everything he can to get this pressure rolling. Kranich, though, he can answer everything that's on the board right now.
He even picks up an SI agent here. But yeah, this Fan of Knives is going to be very good.
Yeah, I mean, this is a turn I think I'm Tinker Sharp sword oiling to make sure I get all this done. Fan of Knives is going to be his lead, and he's going to figure this out afterwards. Is this enough damage, actually, with that Deadly Poison pickup?
Yeah, it's 16 exactly, I think.
3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, plus 8. That's actually 17 damage. He's got more than enough because of that Deadly Poison. That Deadly Poison is the one card in his deck that actually would give him enough damage to deliver lethal this turn. And Kranich is going to take game 1 here over Muzzy, despite the fact that he got out to an early lead and was able to keep this board in check. This is what we talk about with Rogue time and time again. The one turn that they stick pressure to the board, they can punish you for it. That's exactly what Kranich did.
Yeah, and he went through 2 different Dr. Booms that game as well. That was pretty impressive there. Great play from Kranich. Love seeing him play just a power strategy deck right off the bat here.
Yeah, very rare that players can deal with 2 Dr. Booms. I mean, sometimes 1 Dr. Boom is enough to get it done. The fact that he had to sap a Dr. Boom and then deal with it afterwards, that is a massive comeback in my opinion.
Yeah, it's huge tempo swings.
Yeah, he was looking bad at like almost every single step of the way, but continued to have the right cards to answer everything. And Muzzy just was so close at the end there with 2 fireballs, but couldn't get in 1 last attack.
Yeah, couldn't get in the one last attack. You've seen this a lot from their deck where they just can't finish off. You know, he has these 2 fireballs in his hand, but with him at 15, he couldn't get through just enough at the end. Sometimes you have to use, you know, your burn spells as removal. He didn't have to do that early, but he couldn't get through that last attack he needed to end the game.
Yeah, but the Neptulon wasn't enough at the end. If you guys want to check out how he got a Neptulon in his hand or maybe some of the other stuff they did, you can head over to pvplive.net and check out the recap for yourself. Full stats breakdowns, everything they did, their full competitive histories, what they tend to play, and how they intend to beat their opponents. So now they're making changes to their decks. That's the HPL format. Players can play whatever they want at any time. And when we come back, game number 2 is going to be getting underway. Kranich is out to a 1-0 lead, and Muzzy's looking to turn things around. Don't go anywhere, guys. You're watching Hearthstone on PvP Live.